Okay, so in the dark of night, we had followed my real estate agent out into nowhere. It was dark because it was close to the Bay of Fundy. And we got into this church, which we really didn't get a good look at in the night, but because by then we had lost daylight. It was after 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I think it was closer to 9 by the time we actually got in there. He had gone into the grocery store in town, got us some gluten-free bread, some food, and we had ordered pizzas for dinner, and we went to this Air BnB and we ate pizza and we had some groceries, and we just like I said, I was pretty sure I was gonna have a heart attack that night, but we just got ready for bed and we crashed. We were so exhausted from the drive and from everything that was going on. We had the dog with us. And I'll show you again some of the pictures of the Airbnb. It was super cute. It was very nicely made up. It was a church and it was right on the Bay of Fundy, and we woke up and the sun was shining and it was shining across the Bay of Fundy, and we were there. We had arrived. And while there was still so much unknown and we had a disaster on our hands, I was thankful for where we ended up, literally in God's hands, right at the Bay of Fundy, and it was beautiful. And I was like, okay, well, obviously we're getting a bit of help on this. And so I called around, and because of where we are, also in Nova Scotia and out in the Annapolis Valley, there isn't as much as there is in Ontario as far as services and stuff, especially when you're not used to the area. So there's a lot of small businesses and services, but if you don't know how to find them, sometimes you can't. And I Googled and I searched for all kinds of things, and I had to stand out on the porch right next to the bay to get a signal on my phone. I was having issues with the signal on my phone too, so in order for me to get the internet, I had to stand in certain locations. And I couldn't find things, and so finally I found Paul Davis, and Paul Davis is phenomenal. They are phenomenal. I called them up and I was like, listen, we moved in to Nova Scotia from Ontario. We arrived at the house last night. It was flooded and there's all kinds of damage, and we need someone to start repairing it for us, and we're in quarantine and we can't go around and do anything ourselves. We don't know anyone. We don't know the area. I need someone to go and fix this house. I need someone to go in there and start getting rid of the damage. And he was like, we're in Truro. Do you still want us to come? And I was like, yes, if you can. Please. And I didn't realize that when I had driven by, I knew that Truro was up near the Halifax area, more so than down near the Annapolis Valley, but I didn't realize they were 2 hours away from where we are. And they came every day for 2-hour drives to help us fix our house. They are absolute saints. They are now operating in the Annapolis Valley, but they weren't before. They were driving 2 hours a day to come down and fix our house. And it was now June. It was getting hot. It was blistering hot the week they worked on the house. We showed up after a week at the Airbnb, and I'm going to go back into talking about the insurance, and they were fixing the house, and it was so hot. There was no air conditioning in this house. The windows were open. They had the fans on trying to dry the whole house out. And bless them, they were working hard in like the most obnoxious heat ever. It was humid. It was horrible. So while they were working away the first week on the house, we were having groceries delivered to the Airbnb. The kids were enjoying it. We'd go for a little walk down by the water and up around the block, which is basically all it is down where we were. And I was on the phone constantly with the insurance company. So my parents had been teachers and my dad was a teacher. And for years, he had insurance through the Teachers Board, the Ontario Teachers Insurance Pension Plan. And we had just switched because we were moving from Ontario. So instead of being able to get the Ontario teachers benefits and insurance, we had to switch. Now it's all sort of under the same company and brokers and umbrella type of thing where they all are connected, thank goodness, which paid off in the end because we switched to economical. And we got a good rate for the house and the cars. And then we had an issue because the broker who had hooked us up with them, for some reason, our policy was something they couldn't find. They couldn't find the number, they couldn't find the policy, they couldn't find anything. So we were on the phone with Aviva, with Economical. Finally, I had another woman reach out who was not even our insurance broker or connected to us before, but was determined to help us. God bless her. She's up near Halifax. She's connected to Aviva. And she was another saint in this whole operation. She worked with Economical. Finally, they got our policy number. They found our policy, got everything set up, and started to put the claim through. But that took days, and I was questioning whether we were even going to get coverage or not. Now, by the grace of God, we had gotten more than we anticipated for from our other house. So if anything had gone wrong, we had to pay for the repairs ourselves, we would have been in the position now to do that. But we wouldn't have before if we hadn't got that extra money. And it was just the biggest stress ever to try and deal with an insurance company when they are brand new to you and you don't know your own policy number, because they were supposed to send that all out to us when we got out here. We were supposed to get the computer set up and communicate with them once we were here in order for them to email all the information to us, because this was all done again last minute and through COVID, and when things just weren't working and functioning as normal. So we had anticipated at least being able to get out here and get in the house, get the computer set up, and get communicating with them in order to get all the information before anything happened. Little did we know. So that whole week, I was just back and forth with everyone I could possibly be in touch with the movers. I had texted him, and then finally the insurance company was like, don't contact them anymore, don't talk to them anymore, because they're going to have to send a legal team after them, because obviously they were at fault, but they weren't going to admit that they were at fault, or they weren't going to kind of do their part. They wanted to be able to pay my deductible and then leave and let that be all that happened to them. And unfortunately, since it was in the moving driver, the truck driver had admitted that one of his guys had probably gone back in and used the washroom, because everything obviously was not wet and overflowed. And like that, when they went into the house, or they wouldn't have gone in and dropped suitcases in a bathroom full of water. They wouldn't have left everything the way they did if the house was flooded when they got there. And so obviously he admitted fault in a text message and messages back and forth to me. But then, of course, he stopped answering his phone and stuff too, because he didn't want the insurance companies coming after him, because he was a subcontractor. And so it was the biggest headache, the biggest nightmare ever to go through that. But it finally got sorted out. Paul Davis was in the house. They were fixing it. Economical had our stuff sorted. And so we could breathe. And I'm going to get into the next part, because this is where we come back to the house.